let's talk about the science of breathwork and the benefits that could come from an experience of conscious breathing. The physiological stages that we can go through as we do conscious breath can actually shift our blood pH so that we have a different experience of oxygen and carbon dioxide in our bodies. In fact, we can reach a state called respiratory alkalosis. And this shift occurs when we take oxygen during the inhale breath and get rid of CO2 with every exhale. When we take faster breaths, we get rid of more CO2 at a faster rate. And CO2 is an acidic molecule. So if you can think of breathwork as getting rid of the acid in your blood and shifting to a higher, more alkaline pH, this is why we get to that point of respiratory alkalosis. This allows for reduced oxygen to the tissues and can have a cleansing effect. So some of the benefits that have been proven through research are things like increased muscle tone, because when we become alkaline, we have calcium ions that float around in the blood, but also bind to large proteins. And these proteins in the blood are called albumin. During breathwork, the body experiences short-term low calcium states, which cause increased firing in sensory and motor neurons. That's why sometimes we don't want to move, or sometimes we do move. It's a temporary and completely safe state for the body to be in. Low blood calcium manifests in the neurological system as tingling sensations. As a breather, you might experience this in your fingers or your extremities, like your toes, hot or cold. You might feel smooth muscle contractions, and that's the increased muscle tone. This can happen even within our own mouth after a breathing session. Sometimes our mouths become tense, and it's really hard to relax, especially in that jawline. Breathwork also has an anti-inflammatory effect. Think about when you're excited, and maybe if you do something super scary, you have this bolt of courage. I'm going to do it, right? And that's called adrenaline. We've all experienced that. And during breathwork, neurons in our automatic nervous system fire more, releasing epinephrine. This is the transmitter which feels that adrenaline rush. In fact, in 2014, a study out of Yale Medical School found that the epinephrine surge causes the innate immune system to increase its anti-inflammatory activity and dampen its pro-inflammatory activity. During the study, they realized that those who performed breath work had less severe inflammatory responses after being exposed to HIV bacterial toxins than those that didn't, thus supporting the body with anti-inflammatory effects. Okay. The other benefits that breathwork can do, it elevates your mood, right? So we say, get high off your own supply. We mean it, and for good reason. Most breathers experience these sensations of feeling that high, feeling elated, feeling light, feeling like you just did this incredible thing and you're not sure why, because you were just laying on the floor in a chair. Well, this is due to respiratory alkalosis that we talked about, right? Remember, the increased blood pH and decreased oxygen in the tissues. So this is all happening at a physiological level, even within 1 minute of breath work. The vessels in the brain constrict, reducing blood flow and oxygen delivery to the brain by 40%. The effect is responsible for the feelings of well-being that we experience, and that is from Parsley Health. Another benefit is that the body is the healer. And this is where I think the most powerful transformations can occur, because we kind of get our mind out of the way, who's always in charge. We're always doing things, and we give ourselves the permission to listen to our bodies. With breathwork, we are creating a self-healing process within the body. We are utilizing the energetics of our systems to heal trauma, stuck emotions, and pain, literally locked within our bodies. Rather than leveraging the logical mind to kind of figure this out or organize the emotion within what to do next, or maybe I shouldn't feel this or do this or that, we're allowing the body to use its own intelligence to do this for us. Humanity has perfected the ability to self-generate pain within our own systems, our own bodies. And here's what's so exciting is that breathwork gives us the tools to self-heal and repair. We aren't dependent on anybody else or anything else outside of ourselves. other than what we already have locked deeply into our system. And with breath work, we can access that. We can heal on that micro or macro level, literally at the cellular level, using the integrative or the meditative methods that we talk about. And integrative are the ones that are less than 8 minutes. And if it's more than 8 minutes, that's what's called meditative breath work. So for transformation to occur, whether it's leadership transformation or wanting to feel better in a different way, ongoing, whatever that might be, becoming someone you couldn't have imagined you'd become, you first need to connect with yourself in this level. And it's not possible to heal emotionally when we're not connected. And that makes sense, right? It's just not possible for us to be in our bodies when we have a fractured relationship to our own pain. And I know that's hard to admit sometimes. I can relate. It's essential that we understand that pain is a tool. It's actually there to know that we can move into another state, but we have to heal it first. In fact, it's a catalyst. Pain is a catalyst for growth, healing, and transformation. When we block our ability to feel our pain through protecting ourselves, or we block energy from releasing because we stuff it down or we ignore how we're feeling, we have to go there and revisit it in order to heal. Otherwise, it just stays stuck. And all other kinds of problems can arise, which we may have known or experienced about, right? Maybe that's body pain, physical chronic pain. Maybe that's a burst of emotion that comes out of nowhere. These are all related to the body and somatic practices where trauma is literally stored as pain in the body. So this whole connection requires the mind and body to work in unison. The mind letting the body know it's safe to feel, it's safe to open up, and it's so safe to come alive. In fact, it's essential we learn the components of this process and teach our own selves that when we work with breath work, we learn how to understand the wisdom of the body. And that is our true guide for healing. So there is work to allow ourselves to relax enough, to allow our minds to relax enough and not follow the stories we're telling ourselves around anything that's physical or emotional. Maybe making things up like, oh, it's not that bad, or maybe I shouldn't feel this. Let's go somewhere else. Let's just take my attention elsewhere. My hip doesn't hurt anymore. In fact, I don't even know why it's hurting. I don't think it's really happening, right? It could be denial. It could be anything like that. The mind does such a great job to try to shift stuff because that's what it's used to. And it assumes that if we are in pain, we want it to stop. However, that's the real work, especially in breath work, where it's moving through what the mind demands and remembering that the wisdom is in the body. The beauty of breath work is that we surrender the mind and we don't try to force anything. But by focusing on moving our attention to the breath, we move energy through the body, which helps us get things unstuck or to feel different and to heal. We have the ability to bypass the mind, which is our biggest block to feeling better, feeling healed, and for transformation. And from this place, we open up the body and allow the body to do the work. Healing, transformation, and transcending old layers, old stories, patterns, all of it. It's easy to do that when we understand that this is the body doing the work, not the mind. The mind will not do that. The mind will tell us something, but is it really gone? We all know the answer to this, and it's no. All we need to do is open up ourselves enough to allow the body and its infinite wisdom to percolate the tension and release the emotion, or at least understand how it's all connected as we begin to connect with ourselves. And from there, the journey begins. One last thing I'll mention with benefits is that this type of breath work, integrative breath work that I'm practicing and with all my clients and in this podcast, is that it is from a trauma-informed perspective. So what is trauma? Trauma is anything that we have experienced that has caused us discomfort or ways of pain in our past. And I heard someone say once that we've all experienced trauma. If you've you were born, you've experienced trauma, because literally coming out of the womb is trauma. It's traumatizing to get out of there. I'm imagining, right? Even as a little mini infant. So the idea is that breath work is a process, and it can be very difficult for ourselves to connect, especially if we've experienced any kind of trauma or anything that helps us really be in a place, or puts us in a place, I should say, that may not feel safe, because we aren't in control when our bodies are tapping into its own wisdom. Maybe it doesn't want to go there, but chances are, if you are just willing to be open to the body's wisdom, it will go at its own pace that will serve you, because your body is the healer. So think about that and know that you are so held and so safe in this environment. And I look forward to hearing you, or to be with you in the next podcast, in the next breathing. I look forward to being with you in our breath work. Thank you. Thank you so much for trusting me. And I'm excited to hear how it goes for you. Drop me a line or let me know how it went.